What is that?
Hey Ghostheads, it's Heidi from Channeling Spirits. 2020 was supposed to be a special year for Ghostbusters fans. Then, a global pandemic hit.
Well, there's something you don't see every day.
The first official trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife dropped last year, and now the release date has been pushed back to 2021. We didn't get a chance to do a breakdown, but maybe this will hold you over until we get another trailer. There may be some spoilers ahead, so continue at your own risk. The film canonically occurs in the same timeline as the first two films, and already has several callbacks to them. The trailer begins with the deserted landscape of Oklahoma, symbolizing the drought of both supernatural activity and the prosperity of our protagonist family. A 1978 Ford Ranchero GT truck carrying a group of kids shows the literal and metaphorical transport of a younger generation with an older vehicle. The Vanity Fair article from December 6, 2019 says the family moves to Summerville, Oklahoma.
What are you doing here in Summerville anyway?
But the town is fictional. We get our first glimpse of Finn Wolfhard playing the gearhead son, Trevor. Wolfhard is known for his otherworldly roles in Stranger Things and It Chapter 1. His hair is being cut, and it has curls similar to a certain veteran Ghostbuster.
My mom won't say it, but we're completely broke.
This magnificent feast here represents the last of the petty cash.
Carrie Coon plays a single mother named Callie, who takes off an eviction notice from their door. The well has figuratively dried up, but we see later that changes. SpookCentral.net was able to zoom in and see an address of Anderson East Estates, Barnson Street, Chicago, Illinois. The address is completely fictional, so it's hard to tell where they live. However, Harold Ramis was born in Chicago, and Bill Murray in a nearby suburb. Dan Aykroyd, Murray, and Ramis all performed at Second City. The setting might be a nod to any and all.
Chicago.
We see a shot of Trevor leaving with a mechanic's toolbox in a lush neighborhood, which looks like an apartment found at the far north side. The family is driving out west with Illinois plates. While the original Ghostbuster duology was heavily set in the dense metropolitan east, this film shifts the scene to the sparse west. It metatextually echoes the franchise's decline and the desperate hopes of mining for gold out west. We get a shot of McKenna Grace, another child actor who is no stranger to supernatural roles, appearing in The Haunting of Hill House and Annabelle Comes Home. She plays Phoebe, the daughter of Callie, who is obsessed with science and is wearing a familiar pair of spectacles, not unlike a certain grandfather. Trevor tells us,
And the only thing that's left in our name is this creepy old farmhouse our grandfather left us in the middle of nowhere.
From a distance, the house seems to have an excessive amount of antennas, satellite dishes, and several old transformers, in addition to a crumbling barn.
I think this building should be condemned.
When Trevor's visit above a mine shaft suddenly shifts, the group of teenagers look to investigate its depths. The previously abandoned location suddenly stirs, again emblematic of the franchise awakening. A familiar green glow and mist erupts out. We get a voiceover from Paul Rudd's character, Mr. Gruberson. Ivan Reitman described him as a seismologist who's come to this small town because they've been having mysterious earthquakes. He's teaching summer school and showing a map detailing seismic activity. TB3 at gbfans.com was able to discover this is a real map of Oklahoma, and the fictional town of Summerville is a stand-in for Woodward. Gruberson states,
Somehow, a town that isn't anywhere near a tectonic plate, that has no fault lines, no fracking, no loud music even, is shaking on a daily basis.
which is all true. We get a great shot of keys shaking,
I am the Keymaster.
as the effects of the quake are felt throughout the town. Tectonic shifts are not unusual with a tremendous amount of psychokinetic activity.
to the dining table now!
When the quake hits the farmhouse, we see several books stacked. It's not clear whether this is by paranormal means or simply unpacking.
You're right, no human being would stack books like this.
Phoebe unravels a puzzle in the floorboards because their grandfather clearly wanted to hide some proprietary technology. She shows Mr. Gruberson the ghost trap, which he immediately recognizes, and given the red bars, may be a Generation 1 trap. This is also the first time it is called a
ghost trap?
On screen. The other films only referred to them as traps. We get a familiar 3-key sting brought back from the first movie.
Listen.
The writer and director is Jason Reitman, son of the director of the first 2 films. Not only is the story of the film about a family passing on the torch, but production is doing the same thing. This isn't the first time Jason was involved with Ghostbusters.
My dad says you guys are full of crap.
Jason?
In an abandoned factory, we see a blue ghost lingering. We later see a blurry shot of it running from the Ecto-1, but early toy releases call this 4-armed ghost Muncher. Mr. Gruberson notes,
There hasn't been a ghost sighting in 30 years.
and if we go by the timeline of Ghostbusters 2 happening in 1989, and this film taking place in 2019, that means the boys went out of business following Vigo's defeat. This may mean the events of Ghostbusters the video game are no longer canon. Mr. Gruberson shows a clip of what is now known as the Manhattan Cross Rip and asks Phoebe about her dad, who replies,
It's just my mom.
Phoebe finds a PKE meter, like another late great Ghostbuster, and tracks a source to a dilapidated shed. She slides down a pole.
Does this pole still work?
Phoebe states her grandfather died, and we see a shot of
Spores, molds, and fungus.
and a proton pack. The voiceover says the family is just there
To pick through the rubble of his life.
which is what some feel is being done to the franchise. There is also a reoccurring motif of mining, digging through the past, exploring underground areas to bring light something forgotten. Mr. Gruberson suddenly drops the seemingly reanimated trap with an eerie green glow like we saw explode out of the mines earlier. Gruberson asks,
Who are you?
and while no material has confirmed their last name, we get the reveal they are in fact Spanglers. It hasn't been announced whether Egon is their paternal or maternal grandfather, but given his cold nature, he may not have been a great father to Callie.
My parents didn't believe in toys.
We see a sign that says Shandor Mining established in 1927, which is of course a reference to Ivo Shandor, the architect who created Spook Central in the first movie. Egon had mentioned he started a secret society in 1920, and this mine may have been trying to gather unique materials for his building. After all, his building had
Cold riveted girders with cores of pure selenium.
selenium is a real element, but it is relatively rare and has diverse uses. It is widely distributed within the Earth's crust, but it does not occur in concentrations high enough to justify mining solely for its recovery. Or Shandor was digging for something else. Peter Venkman's triumphant speech to Ray about fate and karma was the original film's call to adventure, and now we can see it used to hearken a new generation to adventure. Trevor discovers a vehicle covered in the barn. We get another shot of our Keymaster from earlier, now carrying a shovel, again adding to the digging motif. There is a quick shot of Phoebe standing over a hellmouth full of hands, perhaps the gold Shandor was looking for. What seems to be the foot of a terror dog steps onto the roof of Mr. Gruberson's car. Likely using his skills as a mechanic, Trevor brings the car back to life, and we get a dramatic reveal of the Ecto-1, just like the first film. It's difficult to tell which Ectomobile this is, or how many they've had. That classic orange license plate was discontinued in 1986, which is why in Ghostbusters 2, it has a plate with a Statue of Liberty. The roof rack is the same as the first car, save for the latter being on the opposite side. It's unclear how many ectomobiles there were, but Egon clearly made some modifications because
It has a gunner seat?
this gunner's seat is similar to the real Ghostbusters Ecto-1 toy, who had it on top, or the Ninja Turtles party wagon. While pursuing Muncher with a proton stream, we find Somerville has an equally fictional postal code of 74024. The marketing choice is clearly modeled after the soft reboot success of The Force Awakens. The initial trailer had a mixture of older imagery amid new characters. It built the climactic reveal of the iconic vehicle. For Star Wars was the Millennium Falcon, and for Ghostbusters, the Ecto-1. The next trailer will likely have a
Chewie, we're home
moment with one or more of the original cast showing up. Nonetheless, there seems to be a certain amount of reverence towards the franchise while trying to build it and bring new afterlife to it. But what do you think? Are you excited for another movie? Or is it time to stop digging up classic films for nostalgia's sake? As always, if you liked this video and think we deserve it,
That is the best thing I've ever seen.
please subscribe. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more updates. I'm Heidi with Channeling Spirits, and thanks for watching. Bustin' makes me feel good.